We could almost go straight into questions, I reckon.
We almost could, because guess what? We have just gone very, very live indeed. It's Edge Radio Australia. Time for the Genius Zone. As you can tell, Terry is here and she is super enthusiastic. You're right into this. Are you ready? You want to just dive straight into the questions? I love that. I love that.
I do. I feel like the questions here are so good that we can cover all the teachings and trainings we want to do on this show today, Aaron.
In one fell swoop.
I just want to let you know I can hear the adverts going in my headpiece. I don't know whether that's supposed to happen.
That's okay. We can sort that out. We can fix that right now. Now you cannot hear it anymore. Is that good?
That's all good.
See,
all
there
clear.
We go. We're all go around here. Now, I appreciate that.
Yep.
Okay, so what we'll do is just get that down. We're all sorted on live, as we say. Would you like to jump into the first question today? And we'll hit the ground running.
Yeah, why not?
Let's do that. Zone.
So, over the past few weeks, if we review everything, it's been, like I said on the story today, it's been a bit negative. It's been around soul ties, soul contracts, all these curses and karmic wounds. Well, today, Aaron, we're going to transform into peace, joy, and freedom.
Okay.
And we're going to actually transform the karmic wounds into peace, joy, and freedom.
Turn that frown upside down.
I reckon. So that's going to be that. And I think it's a great time of the year to do that as well.
Oh, so true. I was having a conversation earlier today and we were talking about, obviously, it's come up to Christmas time and people get so commercial about it, okay, all about the gifts. How about we just focus on our relationships and friendships with people? Wouldn't that be good?
Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I agree fully. Very, very overrated.
Slightly.
Everybody gets into a big fluster.
Yeah.
The silly season. Have you ever been attacked in the silly season, Aaron?
How do you mean?
I can remember parking in a shopping centre about 5 years ago.
Right.
And I'm sitting there because, the car parks are totally
it's crazy.
Full. Everyone's kind of psycho and got silly season fever.
Yep.
And I thought, I'll wait for this person to, pull out and I'll just casually drive in, thinking I just manifested a car park. Well, they just sat there and sat there and sat there. In the end, they jumped out of their car and came and whacked my window and started abusing me and saying, you don't have to sit there intimidating me, waiting for me. I can sit here
to be kidding
all
me.
day.
That's so interesting. I got attacked by a killer Karen last year, a very similar kind of thing, where the two cars were backing out at the same time. Anyway, so I stopped to wait, and she got absolutely psycho and jumped out of the car and said that I was intimidating her by pulling out and all of this kind of thing. She went down the patriarchy line, and my partner's sitting next to me, and she's like, what's going on with this lunatic? People just get so fraught and so crazy. It does remind me though, and I know we want to get straight into this, but just a little side story. It makes me laugh. This is 20 odd years ago, and I'm going into a car park, and I pull up. It's in the middle of the Christmas shopping. I put the indicators on, and there's this as I'm pulling into the bay. Now I'm in a big patrol at this time, different patrol, but with really big, serious bull bar on the front. Okay, so I'm pulling in there. Okay, doing my thing, and this woman shot fired straight into my spot, like boom.
Oh,
right? Like, how rude is that? You can see I was being polite. I got the indicator on, whatever. So, okay, now I certainly wouldn't do this in today's society, because today's society is so litigious and fake in so many ways, and there's a lot of rubbish that goes on. But so I just got out of the car and I walked over to about, I don't know, 6 feet away from her car and said, you have 10 seconds to move your car or I'm going to move it for you. And pointed towards mine. And obviously what I was driving was a serious bit of kit. And she sort of, Hyundai versus Patrol. And backed out and off she went. But it worked. It worked. Oh, yeah.
Right.
Because she could see that I was probably going to crush her into the wall, no
pressure.
No pressure whatsoever. So no road rage from me, but maybe a little bit. But from the point of view of more passive-aggressive road rage.
Yes.
But I couldn't get over the rudeness of it. It's just, this is the time we're supposed to be celebrating our relationships, our family, all that sort of thing.
Right.
How about we celebrate a little love for our fellow man? Wouldn't be a bad thing.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if people get triggered at this time of the year.
That's a big thing. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Because it's Christmas, and I mean, whether we lost a loved one because they passed, or, something that really reminds us of, the loneliness. But we don't have to be there. We don't
No.
have to, let ourselves get pulled down that rabbit hole.
Totally agree.
We can make a statement, and I'm going to talk a lot about this today.
Okay.
Setting intentions and making a statement to make a stand for your own life, so that you know exactly what you're prepared to put up with.
Yep.
Because something, Aaron, whatever you tolerate, you'll keep getting more of.
Oh, so true. I think that we did a show on The One Thing several months ago that was so powerful. It was about boundaries.
Ooh,
oh, my word. Do we screw up that one? We really do. And you're right, because you allow some things. You think, oh, just a couple of times can't hurt.
Yes.
But you've set a precedent now. You're saying to someone that kind of behavior is okay.
It's okay.
So you're in my opinion anyway, it's the smartest thing is to set the boundary nice and early. And
I know. That's a really good point, because, what do you do in a situation where you've kind of entrusted someone to come into your space and everything's hunky-dory, and then all of a sudden they start doing things that get under your skin. But because you've let them get away with it for perhaps a month or a few weeks, is it too late, do you reckon?
No.
No.
Look, as someone who's made, as I say, a total mess of this in the past, like, hand in the air, I am the world's worst for. I just like, let it go. Let it go. Let it go. I'm not Elsa, okay? That you become frozen with this. You really do.
Pun intended.
Boom, just slightly. But you set the rod for your own back, and you say to that person, you're saying your behaviour is okay. And I know I've done it in my own life. I did it with an ex-wife who had real boundary issues, was very, very controlling, and I thought, what's the matter? It's just a little bit of control that she's putting up. I don't care. Like, I've got no intention to do anything wrong. So, what's the matter? Well, no, hang on. I've just said that's okay. And when you've said that's okay, then the next step becomes okay. And the next step, and you've opened the door to allow people to. I mean, in that particular case, it went into full-on abuse. But in lots of people's lives, it's just that you find yourself in a controlling situation where you're on the wrong side of it. So if you set those boundaries early, several things can happen, in my opinion. People can take that the right way, and they go, oh, okay, well, fair enough. I respect that. And I'll pull back. So both people are going to win out of that. You feel respect in both ends. Another way is that, you can have the conflict and you can talk it out, and you might come up with a compromise that works. Or thirdly, get the hell out. Like, seriously, the third one is if they're so incensed by you setting limits and boundaries and having respect for yourself, if they don't want you to have self-respect, then they don't respect you. And the best thing that you can do for them is show them the door.
Yeah, okay. I love that. Thank you for that. It reminds me a little bit of like the frog that jumps into the water.
Yeah.
And it's just warm. It's warm.
Right.
So, that's all right.
Yeah.
But then it slowly turns up the heat.
That's right.
And they don't realise it. Whereas if someone came along, another frog came along, jumped straight into the hot water, they jump straight out again.
Spot on.
But sometimes we become immune, don't we?
We do. That just the old hot water just warms up and up and up and up, and you don't realise that someone's been softly and slowly boiling you.
Yeah, love it. So don't get boiled, guys. Don't get burnt. Jump in straight away. Set your standards. This is really it. And I mean, whether you're a parent, because I know that this is going to come up today,
right?
You've really got to know where the boundary is, like you said, but you've got to set the standard. And whatever you tolerate, you're going to get more of. So, whether you leave it too late and how you go about that, it's never too late to change.
No, you can always make the change.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I've certainly learned from my introduction to NLP is it's never too late to change. You can change those pathways. Something I was a bit cynical about, to be frank, but I think healthy cynical,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then just, okay, cynical, but keep your eyes open, check it out. Like, be, be aware of your own biases, right?
Yeah.
Open yourself up, listen to the information, and then make a decision, right?
Yeah.
And in this case,
I actually love clients who are cynical.
Yeah.
And when they come in to see me, if they say to me, Terry, what if I told you that I don't really believe this is going to work? And I give them the freedom to say that's okay, because you need to be the judge at the end of the day. I'm not going to try and convince you that this is going to work. And I wouldn't want to go into something with someone I didn't know without kind of having a little bit of trepidation. So I really feel that that's healthy.
Yeah, thoroughly agree. I thoroughly agree. If you just go in and you completely rose-colored glasses to anything in life,
where do you end up? You don't know where you're going to end up.
I love the rose-colored glasses, you know, to a degree. It's nice to like be optimistic about things, but optimistic and realistic, they're similar words. And perhaps a little bit on both camps is probably a good idea.
Yeah. I'll tell you when there's a good time to have the rose glasses on, Aaron, and that is when I am sitting there and someone's coming in to see me. They might be absolutely wanting to actually get rid of excess kilos, and they may be quite obese, or they may be a drug addict, or they may be really down and out. I want to be able to look at them and see through the rose-tinted glasses. And if I don't see that, then I feel a little bit of uncertainty about whether I should work with them. Because it's almost like, yes, I see the best in you. I know your capabilities. I know you can do this.
Look, I love that. And I think that's the best way to enter any relationship, whether it be a professional relationship, romantic one, whatever. Like you need to, a little bit, Rose, okay? You need to think that the grass is, just lush and lovely in the whole. You need to have that positivity about it. But yeah, on both cases, the cynic is also important.
It is,
absolutely. Because if you go in there, everything's too rosy, man, there's a reason. Look, you don't see clearly. It's very, very simple.
So you've got to take the glasses off.
Yeah, have a bit of squeeze.
And, at the same time, it's finding that real happy medium, because you want to be able to hear the stories you're telling yourself. So, those moments when you think something about a person, and it may even be conspiracy theory, like that person's ganging up on me, or, you think someone's doing, something wrong. But then you're telling yourself a story, and whatever you're telling, you've got to be careful, because you could attract it.
So true.
Yeah,
because you're painting that picture, aren't you?
You are, and you're putting out that energy. So if you're putting out that energy that you're expecting that person to rip you off or come along, hurt you, burn you, you've got to understand, what story am I telling myself? And, let yourself tell the story, but then be able to turn it around.
Yeah, okay. I like that. Well, let's jump into these stories here. Well, they're not stories, they're questions, in fact. Let's have a bit of a look. So shall we jump? Let's go to Sydney, to Sarah from Sydney. Thank you very much, Sarah, for getting in contact with us. I know there's so much I want to achieve in my business to reach my true goals, but I'm riddled with self-doubt. The strange thing is, people see me as confident, but deep down, I don't feel it. I don't know where the doubt comes from, or why it keeps holding me back. What would you suggest as a remedy to finally break free of this self-doubt?
That was a big one for me. Self-doubt.
We hear it
questioning
so often.
Yourself. And if you've been surrounded by someone that is quite significant in your life, and they have been kind of putting seeds, making you doubt yourself, not making you, because we have to take control, but quite often we can say to ourselves, well, I can't do that because my mother or my father or my ex or my brother or my sister said that I couldn't do it, or my teacher told me I couldn't do it. So we tend to carry this. I mean, I had so much self-doubt in myself, but I was also able to learn confidence. But, confidence is something that anybody can do.
No, I don't agree.
It is.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay.
There is a difference between certainty and confidence.
Okay.
You see, it's a bit like my daughter-in-law, and I'm sure she won't mind me telling this story, but she had to give a solo song on stage big theatre last Sunday.
Okay.
Now, of course, she was riddled in all this self-doubt.
Mhm.
And she said to me, Terry, I've never felt so nervous in my life. But, you know, I asked her the question, well, what are you doubting? And really, she was scared she was going to mess up.
Right.
What if I mess up? What if I, what if I get judged? What if,
But
so
what if you
thinking,
don't?
exactly.
What if you succeed, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, those stories of self-doubt, and this is where the confidence comes into play, because I did a lot of stage stuff when I was young. So,
Okay.
here I was, this ordinary little girl that was a dreamer, that, felt, quite often sort of the black sheep and out of context. But you put me on a stage and everything came to life.
Off we go.
And you know what it was? I came into character.
That makes a lot of sense to me. It does.
I stepped into character. And that character of, like Beyonce Knowles, I mean, whether she's a good example or not, she does not sit in her lounge room the way she is on stage, right?
She's in her tracky dacks at home, right?
Yeah, exactly. She's just a human being, probably riddled in self-doubt, just like you, Sarah. But the fact is that when she is doing something, now what is this something? It doesn't matter that she's a pop star. It doesn't matter whether you're Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, Donald Trump, or, anyone for that fact. They all have their own insecurities. You've got to face up to that. They're going to have, and I think the biggest mistake we make as people is we don't look at other people and, imagine that they're going through the same thing. We just internalize it, make it all about ourselves.
We do. Great point.
And, the key word here is purpose.
Okay.
So Beyonce, her purpose is to be on stage,
be
that incredible magnetic woman that she is.
Yeah.
But she's probably not like that when she's driving down in traffic,
No.
and getting stalled.
She's doing her own road rage.
And they even say with actors and actresses, a lot of them are typecast, and, they even go into character. And I think I talked about the Poltergeist and the little girl that was playing that role, and she ended up dying mysteriously.
I remember this.
And I did mention that. But, we go into character, and whatever we are in, that's what we tell ourselves. We become it. So what if you told yourself, Sarah, that self-doubt is only for you to be humbled?
I really like that. You've hit a nail on the head there. That's a great thing. It really is.
Because how many people are out there? In fact, they reckon, you've heard the word charisma.
Yeah.
You got a bit of that actually happening, Aaron.
I'm fond of it.
Now, the thing is that a person with charisma, if you really look into the psychology, there is something underneath there that they don't know that they're great.
Okay.
Even though they might exude this and they're calling people in, they're magnetically attractive, but there's still something humble within them. And that's kind of like there.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. It's you got to keep it real. Like you've in life. End of the day, we're all putting our pants on one leg at a time, right? Like we really are. Some of us are good at this, some are good at that.
Yes.
But ultimately, let's be honest, we're all basically the same. We want to say a quick hello to Cara, who's been lovely and put a message up there to us both individually. Thank you very much. Very sweet to see you there.
Cara.
Really, really cool. Before you came in, I was actually having a conversation with Aidan, one of the Edge family here, and we're having a bit of a chat. And we were having a talk about confidence, funny enough, and how people are very different. And I know I've mentioned this before, so I'm not doing the name dropping kind of carry on, but I'm going to tell this little story. I went to school with Rove McManus, right? And the Rove that I knew in school, and I didn't, I'm not saying we knew each other very well, but I've been to his house. I've said hi to his mum.
Say hello to your mum for me.
Yeah, I have. I was even, we'll say relationships with his relatives. That's probably the best way I could describe it. That
could come across as, a little bit risque.
And it was supposed to. That's why I was careful. No, but I mean, I knew some of his rallies in a close way. Anyway, what I'm getting at is that man, or that boy that I knew, John, and the man and the performer is so different. They are not the same human being. They look alike, but that's it.
Yeah,
because he's
classic
able to
example.
turn that on. He's an incredibly, well, I don't know about these days. I haven't seen him in many, many, many years.
Yeah.
But back in those days, incredibly shy human being. But an ability to, when the camera's on, persona's needed, off he goes, and he's into character.
Yeah.
Okay. There are two very distinct characters that I know anyway. Yeah.
And he found his purpose.
He absolutely did.
He found his purpose and went into state. And if you've ever heard that saying, it's hard to be a prophet in your own hometown. And, you know, it's in the Bible, right? But, you know, there are people out there, especially in the coaching space, and they're in fear of showing up. Mainly because, their neighbours might see them, their uncles might see them. Okay. And what happens is they're still perpetuating that story about who they used to be, like Rove. So Rove may have found, Melbourne, he would have found it a little difficult to overcome the new kind of status that he had. Sure. And people may have even looked at him and gone, that's not you, you know, what's happening here? But in fact, he found his sweet spot. He found his purpose. I totally relate to that because after I was, and I still have self-doubt, I think it's a normal part of life.
I think it's important to have self-doubt.
Yeah, definitely. So, you know, but in my work, I have a lot of certainty. Right. So because of that, and like I say to people, you find your passion, you find your purpose, and that self-doubt is going to really disappear very, very quickly because the moment, and sometimes it takes to come out your conviction. Sure. Because, you know, if you're feeling a little wishy-washy and all that jazz, you know, and then all of a sudden someone treads over your boundaries and really gets under your grr. Your grr? And we all know what the grr, well, the people that watch this show know what that's about. Then your chances are you're going to stand up. You're going to become powerful. And it's like, you know, people that are in leadership, presidency, you know, that they are making a stand in their life. They're backing something they believe in and they have a lot of confidence.
It's been, why can I see in my mind, fight right now? But there you go. Yes. What a changing moment in the world, right? But I think there's so much truth. And I want to say something to Sarah on this one. And thank you again for the email. It's really, really cool. The thing is that self-confidence is, like, it's important to have a little self-doubt, I think, anyway. I really do. I think it keeps you, I think you're bang on. Keeps you humble, right? Because you don't want to, sometimes you need to be a little bit arrogant, but you don't want to live in arrogance, right? Yeah. Okay, so be confident enough that you can just give arrogance a bit of a tickle.
Your stuff.
Yeah. Again, silly little stories from my life. But okay, now I don't know. I'm of a certain age where when we grew up, we saw on TV Ripley's Believe It or Not. Okay, remember that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, right. Now, for some reason, I remember from that, like growing up, I thought spontaneous human combustion was going to be a problem. You know, because, you know, I thought, you know, this is what they would have stories about people who would just, you know, catch fire, right? Anyway, I'm
just like that.
Just like that, right? And I remember as like a 10-year-old kid thinking, geez, that looks really serious, right?
Oh my gosh.
But I kind of turned that funny thing into something when I was older. So when I got older, you know, you'd go out in a group of friends and there'd be a beautiful woman over on the other side of the room and all the friends and all the blokes are going, oh, geez, I'd love to talk to her. I'd love to talk to her. I'd love to talk to her. And I used to say, nobody ever spontaneously combusted because a girl said no, right? You don't catch fire if a girl says no, right? Yeah. So, okay, several things can go over, can actually happen, right? So no worries, walk over there and she can say, yeah, great, you know, join us, whatever. You know, you can start a conversation. It could be really positive. She might say, go away. Right. Have you caught fire?
You're going to die.
Are you going to die? No.
Are you going to explode or just into ashes on the ground?
Are you going to be a pile of ashes on the ground? No. So I thought, screw it. I mean, I'd go up and I'm no bloody Brad Pitt and I would see that beautiful girl and I'd walk up and I'd say hello and
you got them.
And I got them.
Everybody else is too scared.
Exactly. And I was able to shop out of my neighbourhood because the fact is, I could go and do that. And I think that, and that's not me showing off. That is, by any stretch of imagination, that is me just saying that if you want it, go and get it, right?
And I think women like that. They're like, hey,
so.
You're coming up to me, you're talking to me. And just like everybody else, they've got their insecurities. So you're actually making them feel good about themselves. And it doesn't matter how good looking they are. I guarantee they've got so many insecurities.
Of course. They're probably standing there going, oh, geez, look at the guys over there. Oh, gee, should we talk to them? That's probably, who knows?
Yeah. And, the beautiful ones can be quite unapproachable.
They can be. I mean, look, some of them put a tractor beam of evil out, but others, I love it. Well,
but it's because of what guys say. Oh, no, I couldn't ever have her. So they don't approach. But then Aaron Malloy comes along and says, goes up to them, makes them feel amazing. And, sure, I'll go and dance with you. I'll go out with you, whatever. Yeah. And surprised yourself.
Oh, always a bit of fun, right?
Yeah.
Always a bit of fun. And end of the day, you're going to bring some positivity to that person, okay? And if they say no problem, just you turn and walk away, and that's the end of that.
Can I bring some conscious competency to you right here?
Go for it.
Because you know how you've got this passion to make everyone feel good and make people laugh and that sort of thing. So that's your persona. That's your natural superpower.
Okay.
So you may not have realized this, but the chances are if that is so big a value, which I know it is, then when you go up to that female, you're going to make her feel good about herself.
I hope so.
And so that is what we call an anchoring technique in neuro-linguistic programming. And did you know that if you go and watch Darren Brown and some of the street magicians, they pick up chicks or they do this or they sleight of mouth, sleight of hand. It's kind of the tongue-in-cheek stuff. But they're all about anchoring. Okay. So, when it comes to picking up chicks, it's a case, and here I am a chick talking about this, but it's something that we learned. It's about going up and actually making that person feel good about themselves and then hitting them up with, the 3 truisms. It's like, oh, where's your favorite spot? Oh, I love the beach. Okay, what sort of music do you like? I love 80s. And, what do you like doing in your spare time? I like walking along the beach. Actually, you know what? I'm going down the beach and I'm about to have a bit of a drink with some mates and I'm going to take a walk along the beach. How would you like to do that? It's like boom, boom, boom. Of course, everything about their subconscious is going, yes. But that also goes for persuasion engineering skills in a very credible way. All right. So, sometimes people need to be encouraged.
All right.
And so if people are making a decision about buying a car or buying a house, you've got to be able to find out, well, what do they love? What is, what's important? Like, what sort of a car would be important to you? Is it a hotted up, souped up little sporty car, or is it a roaring V8, GT shaker? Or...
I think there's room in the garage for all of them, quite frankly, as many as I can get.
That's right. But, if something's going to appeal to you, chances are you're going to say yes.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah, and there's no point selling something that is no good to someone on that scale of things.
100% agree.
You don't want to be a fake. So it's about really getting to know what does that person like and encouraging them.
Yeah. Now, you've used in the last little bit, you've used comments and statements like pick up chicks. Now, that sort of thing has become so negative. Or you can't say that, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
No, you know what you can't do? How about right now we live in a world where everyone is basically buying their spouse on the internet, right? It's all about thumb doing its thing, right? What's more authentic than going up to another human being and saying, this is me, this is who I am.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
Yeah.
Okay. That is real. Okay. That is real. It's not shopping like you're on eBay, which is what current sort of dating has become.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I like that. See, as far as I'm concerned, go pick up as many chicks as you possibly can. Go pick up as many blokes as you can. Pick up whoever the hell you want, right? But just go out there and have human experiences, right?
And Sarah, find your purpose, find your passion, and anchor yourself into that. And know it's okay to have a little bit of self-doubt.
Oh, I think it's fantastic, actually. I do honestly think in some ways you can turn that very much into your power. I really do. Yeah. Okay, let's go. Oh, look at this, all the way to New York. So Mia from New York. Thank you very much for the message here. I'm an energy healer in my second year of practice. I've always had a strong spiritual connection, and now as a certified practitioner, I'm more conscious of my healings. I'm very aware that energy is contagious, and here's my situation. I live with a loved one who's going through a very tough time, and their energy is very low. Is it okay to be around someone negative when you have no choice, or is there a way to protect my energy while staying grounded?
I hear you, Mia.
Wow,
because
that's a toughie.
because that's one of the first things we're taught in the space of energy healing. You are the sum of the 5 people you hang around.
Yeah.
So birds of a feather do flock together.
So true.
But, when you're in a situation, there is also the ability of covering yourself in golden light. And, understanding that that's their journey, and it doesn't have to be your journey. And really looking at from the point of view that you don't have to get involved in their energy, but I think staying in your own lane, that's the big thing. Is it okay to be around people like that? Well, if you chose it and you were selecting all your friends that were Debbie Downers, or, there were negative Nancy's or whatever, then that's a whole different thing, because you're telling the universe they're the sort of people I want to hang around. And therefore, they're the people that I want to be like, I aspire to be like.
Yeah.
So you've really got to be able to tell yourself, your loved one, for example, that person can be almost like a client. You cannot heal a client and expect them to come in with raving energy. It's just not realistic. If you're an energy healer, they're going to come in and they're going to want you to make change to their life. So you've got to have that boundary in place where your space of where you belong and their space of where they belong, and keep it really, really strongly separate. You've got to separate the difference between yourself and that other person and protect yourself. But there are also other things. So meditation.
Okay.
So you would know this very well, Mia. So if you are meditating, if you are taking time through the day to be with yourself, to honor yourself and have that self-care, and also be able to have the faith like a mustard seed. So, for example, Napoleon Hill, Napoleon, I mean, you're like
you've
a
mentioned
Napoleon
once or
Hill.
twice. Look at that.
Yeah, but,
I agree.
Napoleon Hill, he was amazing. He was given he was given the opportunity to mingle with people and punch above his own where he was when he first came in as a 14-year-old boy. So he was interviewing the Rockefellers. And he was interviewing all these, famous people, Henry Ford, and he was getting into their mind about, what
they're very interesting minds you've just mentioned. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, they are truly some of the most interesting, and not in a good way, when it comes to the Rockefellers, for argument's sake, but or Henry Ford's got some pretty evil sort of thoughts as well. But
and even Edison. So he interviewed Thomas Edison.
Wow.
And so what he wanted to do is he wanted to get into their mind and find out, well, what does it take? Like, what do they know that I can learn? So, he's got this, but then he had a life probably much like us, Aaron,
right,
where at home, I think he had 3 wives. Like he was divorced 3 times. It wasn't, he did not lead the perfect life. In fact, he was probably so mission driven that he drove everyone nuts.
I get that.
And that happens in my space where, sometimes if you are so really focused on where you're going and you've got this big purpose, you may not have it all together. There's no 100%. Such thing as perfection.
Okay. Look, despite what Oprah said for, 40 years, okay, you can't have it all. Okay. You can't. It's not possible.
I agree.
Okay. You've got to make the decisions and your own happiness and your own self-worth. You've got to make the choices that suit your path.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that does compromise your relationship sometimes, which is a negative thing. But again, you've got to be happy with your journey, right?
Yeah.
End of the day, they're going to dig a hole 6 foot deep, and they're going to throw you down the bottom of it, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so you're accountable to
we don't get out of this alive, do we?
No, none of us get out alive. So you're going to be accountable to the bloke or the woman at the bottom of that sand, right? And I'm not saying I look, please be really good to the people around you, but you want to share as much love as possible, but at the same time, you need to live your life.
Yeah, I mean, it's just reality. So don't expect too much of yourself, but also have a faith and make a statement that honors you. Like, for example, even though this person I live with is going through such a challenging journey, that is their journey.
It's their journey.
And I'm not going to allow myself to get dragged through the mud with them. And I make a statement, right, Mia, that I proclaim to retain my peace, joy, and freedom.
Okay.
And when you're doing that, you're living a realistic life. But, with Napoleon Hill, he had all the family problems and he had a son. I don't know whether you know that story.
I didn't know that, no.
He had a son with no ears.
Really?
His son was not just deaf, but he had no ears.
That would be hard to call him for dinner.
I don't know how this works, and I always tried to picture it, right? But he held the faith that whatever the mind can conceive, it can achieve.
Okay.
Now, they ended up finding a way for his son to hear through a vibration. And you can read that story in his book, Think and Grow Rich. And so, by you retaining your faith, especially if you love that person, and hold that faith that person's going to improve. That person is going to, have that next level. But by you getting dragged down in the mud with them, it's not going to work.
No, don't be dragged down. That's there's so many songs there. Don't bring me down. All of that. But no, look, for me, look, honestly, I really feel for you because I think so many of us have ended up in that situation at some point in our life where, I'm certainly no healer by any stretch of imagination, but I think.
You?
Look, I'm barely a Band-Aid.
You do it on radio.
Well,
you don't even know it.
That's it. We all do our thing. We all do our thing. But like, as far as when so much of you is about improving lives, if you're in that field and if you're brought down, it's your energy and what you're putting out there is just so, look, it's just squashed down. And when you're a person who wants to give, it's very hard to give from zero, right? If there's nothing in the cup. So
absolutely, I love that.
Yeah,
you give such logical answers for our people,
okay.
And I guess that's what brings this balance. Like sometimes I can go really woo woo. Yeah, the golden light. And
that's right.
Cover yourself in the golden light, and
when you mentioned the golden light, I just felt like an ice cream all of a sudden. I don't know. That's what I was after. But never mind. But I think balance is everything in life. Okay, so sometimes you've got to have a bit of woohoo. Okay, sometimes you need a little bit of just get back to the old gravity and get your feet back on the ground and with something very realistic.
Yes.
All right. Well, shall we jump to the last one that we've got for today? Because we've been good about this, and I really want to thank everybody who sends questions in. We're trying to be well behaved and keep down to 3 and 4 nowadays.
Yes.
And we're getting there. We're doing all right.
We're doing
but the more people who put the messages through, obviously during the week, that Terry can contact them as well, which is great. So this is from Glenn. Glenn is in Melbourne. Thanks, mate, for your message here. This year has been incredibly tough. My son went through a traumatic public event, and it's been hard for our family. I resonated deeply with your last show about karmic wounds and curses, and can now see how this has come down from my father after Aaron shared his story. Okay. I've done a decree. My eyesight's going a little bit on that one. Sorry. I've done a decree and declaration you shared, but feel stuck on the next steps to take to create a shift for myself and my family. I would love to hear both your thoughts on this. Thanks, mate. I'm glad that, look, me telling my story, I'm glad that had an impact, because so often we don't tell our stories. So often we're ashamed of the story, or we feel that other people don't want to hear. But I'm a big believer, and I wasn't always this way. But the old, if you share a story, you halve it. Okay, and that's so important to do that. So it's just, if I'm feeling it, right, I'm hearing it. So why not share it with others on the chance that could actually help heal me and more importantly, in that situation, help that heal that person.
Yeah.
Because if they're thinking, "Oh my God, I can identify with that," it just you feel a sense of comfort. I think.
Yeah.
When you can identify with somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah. So that leads me into, the feelings, what you hear, what you see. And obviously, if you've had this incredibly tough year, and I know what it's like, you get a loved one and it sounds like it was a public traumatic event. So that makes it hard because then there's a bit of guilt and shame and all those things.
Added complication to it.
So I totally get that. But, one thing I have to say is that it's gone. Whatever has happened to your son has now gone.
Past, yes.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so you're now playing over and over again, obviously, that traumatic story.
Yeah.
So, yes, and great, good on you for decreeing, because last week
we talked about
we
that.
said, I decree and declare to release, and whatever that is, you fill the blank.
Okay.
And it's got to be around not specifically your son where, oh, my son did this and then this and this and this happened, but it's the feeling and the emotion that has come out of it. So decree and declare to remove that energy, that frequency. And once you've done that, which you have done, and you're probably in a little bit of a, stalemate.
Okay.
On the chessboard, you don't know, okay, which way am I going to go,
The Queen's going to win. We all know.
The Queen's going to win, of course. So, this is where you can create that vision board. So understanding, and it's really about your subconscious. This is where I'll go a bit woo-woo here.
Okay.
So at a subconscious level, it's really your subconscious that's playing that story over and over again.
Okay.
Because logically, you want to get on with it. You want to have fun. You want to do life. But then it's like, oh, but what about this? But that's the subconscious mind. And you've got to really be aware that it's not deliberately trying to hold you back. What it's actually trying to do is protect you. Because what's happened is this scenario where you've been so impacted by whatever that happens to be has happened. Your subconscious is in damage control. So it is literally going, don't go there, don't do that, because that's going to happen if you do that again. So there's this, see, your subconscious doesn't know how to go forward. It only replays. It's like automation.
Sure.
It plays on automation. So it's all the recurring patterns and reels, if you like. So you've almost got to rewind that reel, and we've talked about that in one of our other shows, and almost delete it. And if you did delete it, as long as you kind of went, okay, go back perhaps, Glenn, to before this situation. So when you do this, what happens is your logic on one hand goes, this is a load of rubbish, right? She's going to tell me to go back to the week before this trauma happened.
Yep.
And we all know that that's not the case. I'm here and now. I'm not back there. But what happens is you're practicing it. You're rehearsing it in your mind like a sports person rehearses their championship. And they rehearse it over and over and over again. They plan it. They say, I want to win.
Yep.
This is where I want to go, and I want to get gold. And they plan that. They set their intention. Then they practice it,
Because no one in sport practices going for bronze.
True.
No one. Nothing wrong with bronze.
Good point.
Let's be honest. But you play to win. Okay.
Yeah.
And when you started saying what you were saying just a moment ago, like that is, and I wonder if Glenn feels the same way, but this is how I feel. Like when taking it back to that time just before that event happened, I find that incredibly tough. This is something I struggle with, and I sometimes I find myself punishing myself for things that were out of my control.
We like it, Aaron.
We do, don't we?
We do.
What's wrong with us?
Like if we're worrying about something and the phone rings, we hang up and go, now what was that thing I was worried about?
What is that about? Honestly, I was so busy angry. I was so busy worried. I better get back to that. Yeah. But I see a lot of value in what you're saying, though. And I think the sports analogy is a really, really smart thing, right? Because if you can take yourself to that great point of success, and I've been very lucky. I've had some, great sport in my past and motor racing career, which I'm incredibly proud of and very lucky to have.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I was sitting there at the starting line and we're ready to go, right? I'm watching 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm not thinking about the rally before when I rolled 3.5 times and ended up through 20 trees. You don't think about that. Now, if you do, then you tighten your hands.
Exactly.
You create anxiety and you drive poorly. Right?
Exactly.
So if you can program your mind to think about the positive, to think about that achievement, to think about that success when you're sitting there on the starting line, then your hands are loose, you're comfortable, and you go in there with the presence. And you've got a lot more control of your emotions than you have when you've let them off the chain there. So I really love that. Something that I'm still sort of struggling with. I'm still, I think, can I just take my life and just pop it in that date, and how good would that be? But just because it's difficult doesn't mean it's not worthwhile. It's in fact, it's probably very worthwhile. So it's something I think that you, certainly in my case, I can say it's something I want to keep striving for.
Yeah. And this is really off topic, but it's still relevant. And I may have told this story on the show before, but I was dealing with a horse racer.
Right.
And he was really good. He was pretty well known and quite renowned.
Yeah.
But his horse had a fall, a massive fall, and, it never came back. So he had to go out and he got himself another horse, but he couldn't ride it. He couldn't do that the same way as he once did.
Sure.
Because, like I said to him, well, look, what are you thinking about? But he's thinking about how that last horse fell down and broke his leg. And then he's playing that in his mind. Now, logically, he's not wanting to play that in his mind, but his subconscious is going, watch out. You don't want your horse to fall down again and break its leg, and you're going to, lose the race, and that's going to be, your life is over, which that's not the case, right?
Okay.
So you've got to go back to a time when you were good, where it all was happening, especially if it is around what you want for your life. So my question, Glenn, would be, when was some of the best times of your life? So, if we can get pretty specific about this, where you felt really empowered, maybe where you had a really good relationship with your son pre that. So even though we're not going into the woo-woo of, okay, let's go back to before that. But what if you could go back and touch, feel, hear the same sensations as what you were actually going through at a better point of your life? And once you do that, you've got to be able to go, well, they say that hindsight is 20/20 vision. Sorry, I had to think about that. Hindsight is 20/20 vision.
It is, yes.
So how many things would we change if we could go back? So we can't, but what if we could? What if we could go back and change that, that decision we made, or change that, I shouldn't have sold that house, or I should have never done, but we
it's
all
like the movie,
do that.
Okay, like the movie Sliding Doors, okay? I would never normally endorse anything with Gwyneth Paltrow in it because I can't stand her. I hate her. Anyway, but the concept is so true. It really is.
She gets up, gets on the train.
Yeah. So there's a moment that you can have a completely different path in life, and that's what it's based on. So look, I think I think there's a lot of value to what you say. Maybe go and find that point and put a little marker there. Go, I really liked it here.
Yeah.
I'm kind of going to run with this. I think that's a positive thing to go. Yeah. Now, you can't change what's happened. I get that. It's still going to be there, but you can certainly change your attitude.
Absolutely. And once you can release that and get yourself back into those good feelings and try to find the gift in what did actually happen. And even if it's too soon, ask yourself, what could possibly be the gift in this that is going to have some kind of an impact on my life going forward? And then scoot into the future and start dreaming. Now, people talk about, vision boards, have boards of the way you look. your residence, the kind of people you're hanging out with, the environment that you're in, and really get into that visualization. I mean, some people put them up around their bathroom and have them kind of in
nothing
places,
like the back of the toilet door, right? Let's be honest.
Yeah, well, that's right. With your friends, I'm probably not going to be, because a lot of people go, oh, I can't do that. Everyone's going to think, they're going to think of me as, aiming too high.
If I want friends who want the best for me.
Yeah.
Right. So that's who I want to surround myself with. So if I'm going to find that I'm embarrassed by putting those things up, so the naysayers are going, oh, you're never going to achieve it. Guess what? Let the rubbish take itself out. That's something you don't want in your life. It's not a person that's going to bring you joy.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it.
Because
exactly.
if they feel that their role in your life, their role in your life is there to keep you down, that's not the sort of person you should be attracting.
Yeah. And I was talking to a hypnotherapist this morning who I actually coached and trained, and she said a couple of really great things to me which elevated, the way that I felt about myself, because she said, Terry, I've been to a lot of people, she said, but the biggest outcomes I've ever had is with you. And she'd made a massive decision in her life just recently. And she's going through some really big crises. And, as a result, but she said to me, in that last session we had, I did the timeline where this is the decision I make when I'm doing something different and I'm creating a different decision. And this is the one if I don't change it. So, and then when she went out, she told me, she goes, when I went out into the stagnant space of staying put, she said it was really dark. It was horrible. And so that in itself is a really, really good way. It's like visualizing you've got two timelines and, being able to, and you can do this for all sorts of things. You can do it for, oh, should I take that job or should I take that one? There's something about visiting both timelines at the other side of it that kind of gives you a little bit of gut instinct, if you will, a little bit of intuition, and waking up some of that, that discernment that we've all got happening within us. So, what you can do finally, Glenn, to put this, into, context, is decide what you really want to achieve for the next year ahead and send love to that space and even to the people around you that are part of it, including your son. Send him love. Send him this beautiful golden light and really send it to him, because,
so important.
We can just think of someone and next thing you know, they'll call us. Ever had that?
Oh, no, I wished, but yeah.
Like you can think of someone and then suddenly you bump into them. I was just talking about you the other day. But there's something very powerful when you send golden light, when you send positive energy to that person, and then you give gratitude, because they say that gratitude is the highest frequency you can possibly have. So regardless of what you may be feeling, what are 3 things that you can be grateful for? And then send the golden light, step out into it, but, send the love across the whole planet. Another thing is zooming out on your life. Because just when you think you've got a problem, someone else is going to trump you. That somebody else is going to have a bigger and better problem than you've got. And, this is where when you zoom out, because, we're only on this earth for a very short time. I was telling my daughter-in-law when she was going on stage, firstly, I got her to anchor herself. I got her to see color. I got her to see a symbol. And interesting, the very color she pictured for what she wanted was exactly the color of all the people on stage.
Is that right?
I said, did you know that? Because I just didn't think anything of it when she said, oh, it's orange. And then I went there and I went, look, what are the chances? Everybody's wearing autumn and everything else. And then there were stars, and that's what the play and the theatre production was all about, stars. So she had anchored it, but subconsciously. She didn't deliberately do it. And then she got into state. So rather than just being her little self, so, by you practicing all these things we've talked about today and getting into state, going over into your future and anchoring it in and feeling what you feel, seeing what you see, and hearing what you hear. And if that's not working well for you because you're still feeling caught up in what's going on with your son, zoom right out, kind of like go right out, so that you realize you're just a speck of sand in this whole planet.
Well, okay.
You know, you're
further out than I expected, but all right.
You're just a speck of sand. So therefore your problem is like that. So when you can expand yourself beyond the problem, because we sometimes just cannot move out of the way.
It feels like it's the only problem in the world.
It does. It does. And I know that this is probably a big one, especially if it's traumatic and it's public, and you're probably wondering, how am I going to get out of this? But the last question I would have for you, Glenn, is what are you achieving by staying in there?
I don't know.
You know, is it getting you anywhere? Like, is it actually going to change anything?
Now, Terry, we are so out of time.
I know, it's 3:54.
There you go. Couple of things. If you're not happy with your timeline in life, I've got some advice. Watch Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3. Puts a pretty big smile on your face, right?
Yes,
you can change your timeline, right? Easy as that. And otherwise, before we end and run out of here, if I want to get hold of you, well, let's face it, I've got your phone number. But for other people, how do we get hold of you?
Okay. Well, on Facebook, go to my bio. You will see that you can contact me, terrymessenger.com. And, you know, that's probably the easiest way. Just Google terrymessenger.com, because I've got a calendar on there. You can book a call and do all the things, or even send me a message, you know. I'll be quite happy to, you know, take a message. I went to Melbourne a couple of months back, and there were people online that watched that Melbourne event, and I never met them, but they chased me down and they found me on Terry Messenger Transformation Queen page.
Right.
And, you know, they got what they wanted. So they asked me for it. I saw you online. And,
there you go.
Terry Messenger Transformation Queen.
Easy as that. Well, we are out of here. It's Edge Radio Australia. It is the Genius